Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Toku Turnback. I'm your host of Frozen Stratos, and today is a special day. I have finally finished Gosei Sentai Dairanger in full, and I am here to give you my full thoughts on the show. And not just that, this episode of Toku Turnback serves as the announcement for this channel's first big event. Welcome to Toku Week. Go Mango's Toku Week. This entire week, we will be bringing you tokusatsu content once a day to lead up to the premiere of Kamen Rider Build. Give or take a few days, because, you know, subbers and all that stuff. Anyways, let's just dive right in to my full thoughts on Gosei Sentai Dairanger. And I can't talk about this show without, talking about the characters. And really, for me, story isn't always like the be-all end-all for a show. For me, it's about the characters. The show can be shaky, just like with Zyuohger, but if you have good enough characters, you can win my heart over. And this show, while it did have some pretty great plots inside, the overall plot wasn't that great, and the thing that kept me going through the rough times of the show were the characters. And let's just go down one by one. I want to talk about Rio Ranger, or Red. I like my initial thoughts of this guy. Honestly, he looks like Jet Li, and I'm a big Jet Li fan, and that was a big plus, like surface of level, big plus. And while he didn't get too much growth throughout the show, he definitely had clear ambitions. He definitely, was a good person, a genuinely good person that wanted to do the right things for him and his friends and his family. Sadly, we didn't get too much with his sister toward the end, but we definitely had a clear motivation, and his story arc with his father, and even the guy with the robot arm, the conflict with that guy was incredible. A lot of the stories that he was able to go through were great. I loved him. He's definitely my second favorite character of this show. And my first favorite, thank you for asking, my first favorite is Shishi Ranger, good old Daigo. And again, rest in peace, Mr. Tatsuyanomi, but you did an absolutely fantastic job with this character. I had a wonderful time watching this character grow, and I connected with this character, and I like, if you're here, you're either looking for thoughts on this show, if you should watch it or not, or you've watched it yourself, and if you have, then you know everything about him and Kujiku. Excuse me. To me, that was like the highlight of the show for me. I loved the romance between the two, and it broke my heart that they couldn't get together in the end. It broke my heart that there was a key moment, a key episode that really cemented Daigo as a person, rather than, a standard archetype. I mean, it throughout the course of the show, he was a person, he was a character, not an archetype. But what really encapsulates it for me is the episode where he's trying so desperately hard to find the tears of Buddha, I think, or the peacock tears, in order to revive Kujiku. The problem was, if he used the tears, humans would begin to die. It's a really big, drama for the sake of drama sort of thing, but it really hit me that despite what he heard, he wasn't having it. He thought it was a lie. He wanted to do anything to justify trying to do this. And like, it takes balls, man, to have one of your main heroes, and I think he is the second in command, have one of your main heroes actively want to make the wrong decision because he's blinded by passion, by rage, by anger, by love. It just shows so much. Like, he is a human. He's not an archetype. He's not, a standard hero. He is just a dude, and it became very relatable very quickly for me. That and the episode where he and Kujiku were stuck inside like this jar dude's stomach, and he was just at it, punching through the wall. Like, the fact that this man has such an enormous drive and like just cares so much about someone. I don't know. It was just, it resonated with me. He was definitely my favorite character. He took like the best parts of the show and made it even better. And quite honestly, he should have been the leader. If I'm being entirely honest, because like Rio Ranger, he got the spotlight, and usually the Red Ranger is sort of the quote unquote main character, and I get that. But Green really took up the lead a lot of the time, and he knew he was a pretty good tactician. So credit where credit's due. Honestly, he felt like the leader. Next up, we have Tenma Ranger, and he was a surprise hit, man. I did not expect to like him as much as I did, but that man has heart. That character has heart. And anytime he's on screen, and he goes back to that sort of delinquent sort of character, but there's just I don't want to. He doesn't fully remind me of Kamina from Gurren Lagann, but he does have that air to him, that sense of confidence, but also like nobility. He's a very noble character, and I love it. And he's so sentimental, and I don't know. And a lot of his story arcs that he got with the Three Stooges, that it felt like filler, but again, a lot of heart. That's who the character is. He's just heart, and he just keeps going. He smiles even though he should be down, and like, he takes his time to cry every now and then, especially toward the end of the show when, if you haven't noticed by now, this is a spoilery review. So if you want to watch the show, you definitely shouldn't be listening to this before. When Master Kaku, spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1, get out of here. When Master Kaku dies, it's so powerful to see him break like that. The happy-go-lucky, charismatic character breaking down, crying. It hurt. And when the Rangers were told to stand down and not fight anymore, he's so fired up that he has to go fight. He doesn't care if it's Master Kaku telling them not to. He's going to go out and fight. And it was incredible. I grew to love this character, just as much as the rest of them, and maybe even more so. And I'd like to move on to Kirin Ranger, Yellow. And for me, he was the biggest letdown, sadly. A lot of the characters got things to do. And by that I mean, like, Rio Ranger, like, they had their like obstacles to face. Rio Ranger had the one-armed karate guy, and Shishi Ranger had Kujiku. That was what he faced throughout the show. Tenma Ranger had the Three Stooges. Kirin Ranger, I think it was Kameo. And I'm not like since, and this goes back to a bit of a weakness in Hou Ranger's character as well. In that the characters that immediately interacted with their with their struggle was on the team. So, and you could argue that Kirin Ranger's main conflict was actually, you know what? He didn't get too much character. I was going in really wanting to like the character because base level, he has my favorite fighting style out of all of them, and they don't lean into it that much. The drunken fist, that's one of my favorites. And they use it every now and then to a like he had a drunk fight with a drunk bad guy. It was cool, but not as cool as I'd hoped. They didn't lean into it as much as I'd liked, and the only real character he got was when he moved here. This old lady helped him, and now he helps her. That's nice, but any other one of the Rangers would have done it. It's not that unique, and we don't get too much about him. I really wish we did. Yeah, so I like him. I like him a lot. I just wish, he had more to him. And it's not that he was, bad or horrible or anything. He was a nice guy. He was nice to Kameo, and I love Kameo. Kameo's great. But there wasn't much to his character, and he was a bit of a letdown. The next character I want to talk about is Hou Ranger, and I don't know. I feel like she got kind of snubbed. As I was talking about, they each had their own characters that related to them. I slowly kind of found out that her conflict was basically having Ko around. Like, Ko definitely had his own story going on, but Hou Ranger's story, like, her whole thing was kind of being this big sister motherly figure to him, or taking care of him. And I wasn't that pleased with that, because I did kind of want her to have motivations outside of that role. You know what I mean? And there's a lot you could definitely have explored with this character because of her heritage. If Master Kaku is her uncle, right? And he is a former Gorma, or a Gorma? Yeah, a former Gorma. Then does that mean she's related to the Gorma? How old is her family? And like, her grandpa comes by every now and then, and he has no recollection. He has nothing to say about, Master Kaku being Gorma. So it's pretty confusing, to be honest. And I really wish we had gotten more with that. And sadly, it was overshadowed by Ko. I feel like his introduction really stifled a lot of her development and took a lot of screen time away from her, and that made me really sad. Like, initially, she was the one that found the Zords, and she was the one that, I think, called them all, to her. I thought that was great. And the show was definitely making strides to make her a prominent character, but then once Ko got on the scene, she turned into just the girl, not necessarily the mother, not necessarily she was like big sister to Ko, but it was like she turned into his caretaker, and it kind of, I don't know, that made me a little upset because I wanted to see more from her. She was certainly a strong character early on. And then, snubbed. I don't know. And, we can't talk about her without talking about Kiba Ranger, Ko. Initially, I didn't like Ko. The way that he was just, running around town on his skateboard, flying and groping girls, and I don't know. Like, is that what they think kids did back then? I wasn't around back then, but I don't think that was what kids did. And I don't know, to have a hero portrayed in such a way, it made me a little sad. But over time, he grew and began to learn, not to do that, and two, how to be I don't know, a functional, not adult, because he's not an adult, but like, I mean, he had his problems with his mom, his brother, and like his whole family, and his setup. And again, this goes back to me liking good characters over story. Um, there's this really weird convoluted rule in the Gorma that if you have twins, you have to kill the oldest and keep the youngest. The mom couldn't do that, and she was part of the Dai tribe, and the father was, the one of the big bads. Was it? Sorry, I have to look through this. Dang, I honestly I can't remember his name, and this goes back to how not useful they were to the plot. But like, the fact that just a really convoluted thing brought about Ko's backstory is kind of bothersome, and like, the fact that like he needed to be brought to his mom before he turned 10 or else he'll turn into a Gorma. I mean, it's drama for the sake of drama. I get it. I understand. And I usually don't like it, but if it's for characters I like, and I liked all the other characters except him, but I started to, warm up to him as time progressed. I did absolutely love his relationship with his brother. His name, I know this one now, Akamaru. Friggin' Akamaru. I loved, like, he is one of the best, excuse me, he is one of the best, child actors that I've ever seen in a Sentai, ever. And I loved every second that he was on the screen. He was easily the most compelling villain. Shadam, Gara, and Zydos. They were non-factors in this show, honestly, and they were probably the weakest part. And see, and this also ties back to I guess the structure of this show. I'm a bit all over the place, but I kind of want to talk about this. They have arcs, right? But they have these stories planned out, and it looks like you're supposed to watch them all together, like all in one go. But then they just chunk out the parts and then throw them all randomly into the show. Like, they're in chronological order on their own, but like different plots are weaved in between, and they don't even connect to each other. I don't know what or who decided that, but it definitely screwed up with the pacing of the show. Like, things that were introduced in one episode were immediately dropped in the other, and characters that were in one episode like just didn't have any weight in the next episode. So I didn't really know what was going on there. I was kind of disappointed that, because I really liked Dairanger, and the fact that, I don't know, it just wasn't paced correctly, or it was just thrown together incorrectly. I couldn't get behind that. It really sort of soured the show for me a bit. But like, again, it's the characters that kept me coming back. So take that for what you will. Again, I definitely love this show. Definitely love the characters. The Gorma, really weak as a villain. And I went into this in my, my last 5 episodes review, but the whole thing about the Gorma being clay dolls, so confusing. I did not understand what was going on at all. Why would Zydos? No, Shadam. Why would Shadam bring back the Gorma, but then not give himself the Gorma Emperor position? Right? Like, I don't know why he'd establish a problem for himself unless they were already there. But like, all of them got turned into clay. And also, Master Kaku said that he was a Gorma, but he didn't turn into clay. Who was real? Where did the Gorma come from this time around? And then it's supposed to be this sort of cyclical, Gorma will always come back and the Diatribe will always come to save the day. I'm so confused. I'm very confused at this plot. But again, shaky ending. Definitely a shaky ending. But the journey to get there, it was definitely nice. To see the team break up and come together again as old people, that was really nice. And oh no, I really appreciate the show for what it was. I can overlook, the inconsistencies and stuff. Just because I like the characters so much. And the stories, the individual stories are good. Don't get me wrong. It's just the overarching plot. It leaves a lot to be desired, What else did I want to talk about? I don't know what it was. Maybe there's like some Star Wars influence in this show, but like at the beginning, Rio Ranger was definitely Luke Skywalker, and his dad was definitely Darth Vader. All the bad guy music in this movie, in this show, I definitely heard notes of the Imperial March, and it bothered me a lot. But I finally got used to it. I do want to talk about Master Kaku a little bit. I do love actually how he was a mentor through and through. He's one of the best mentors I've seen up until the end, just because so much plot was thrown at us through him. And I mean, it's not really the fault of the character than it is of the writing and how inelegant it sort of was. Like how they had to set up like, oh yeah, like there's this, I'm a Gorma. 2, I'm gonna fight for the title of Emperor Gorma. 3, I'm gonna keep you guys out of the loop so then you guys won't be helpful when you actually could have been. And then, toward the end saying, hey, it doesn't matter. A lot of stuff that he was given to say that that really angered me in terms of a story standpoint, but overall, just the connection that he made with everyone, especially his death. Like, I can say what I want about the build up, the lead up to the fight, and his ultimate demise, but his death, I still felt it because the characters felt it, and they loved him like a father, and I felt it coming from them, and it was, I don't know, it was heartbreaking, but also amazing that this show was capable of so much. But yeah, definitely love this show. If you want to watch this, Shout Factory has DVDs of this show, and it's available to stream on Amazon if you buy it from there. I guess not available to stream. It's not necessarily a stream. Anyways, it definitely if you're in the mood, definitely check this out. It has a lot of old hokey stunts and all that stuff. It's to be expected from Sentai, especially older Sentai. But I absolutely love this. It's now one of my favorite Sentai shows ever. And as I slowly go through this show, or Toku Turn Back, I will hopefully garner more under my belt. But yeah, definitely check this out. I loved most times watching this. But yeah, I think that just about wraps up my wrap up of this show. It was a fun ride, and guys, whoever stuck around, thanks for coming along with me. This is the finale talk and full series wrap up. This is pretty incredible. I started this just so I could get through Sentai, and it turned out to be a lot of fun. This This definitely helped me get through it, because I don't normally stick around too long for a show unless I have a reason, and being able to talk about it was the perfect reason. So guys, thanks for listening. If you want to hear more from us each week, hit that subscribe button, because this entire week we're like I said, we're going to be bringing you one video a day for Toku Week, building up to Kamen Rider Build. And tomorrow we are going to be, for day 2 of Toku Week, we will be taking a look at your regularly scheduled Kamen Rider X-Aid finale. So make sure to tune in tomorrow for Toku Week Day 2. Oh, and on top of that, next Saturday, I will be covering a brand new Sentai for Toku Turnback. And, drumroll please, it's going to be Live Man. Yes, I've decided to go through and watch Live Man. Why? Because I like the suits. And that's all the reasoning I need. Anyways, guys, I think that just about does it. So, like I said, comment down below what you thought about the show, your overall thoughts, if you enjoyed it, and if you liked hanging, going on this journey with me. Hit that like button if you liked it. Subscribe, because, stuff is happening this week. Happy Toku Week, guys! And, all the links to our social medias are in the description down below. Anyways, that just about wraps it up. I think I said that a lot. See ya!